So let's begin by stating the obvious, and that is that distractions kill productivity. You know that, I know that, everybody knows that. What's not obvious is where they're coming from. We oftentimes don't know that, do we? So why does that matter, though? Why does it matter that you know where they're coming from? It's because you can't really defeat an enemy if you can't see it. So to defeat your distraction enemies, so to speak, you have to shine some light on them, especially when it comes to figuring out the worst contender. What is your biggest distraction? And then eliminating that. And then in this video, we're going to talk about how to do that, a very simple step-by-step process for doing that. So step number 1 is to identify and list your distractions. So get an index card. Now, of course, you can do this digitally, but I recommend you get an index card, a paper index card, so that you can write this down. It's easy to access anytime you need to use it. You're going to be marking on it, so that's very important you can do that. So get an index card and then list your top 4 to 6 distractors or interrupters on that index card. Now, here are some examples. That might be answering email. If you're constantly distracted by having to respond to an email as soon as it comes in, write that down as a potential distractor. Answering the phone. Do you answer the phone every single time it rings, even though you may not need to? That's a potential distractor. Other people. Are they barging into your office on a regular basis? Kids, wives, husbands, whatever it may be. Are other people a potential distractor? Write it down. Social media notifications. You know that's got to be on that list somewhere for most people. Surfing the web. You get an urge every once in a while to just stop what you're doing and search for something. Go shopping somewhere. Look for a YouTube video. If that's a potential distractor, write it down. And here's one that you may not have ever thought about, but how about a bad habit, such as biting your nails? Something that disrupts your flow while you're working. You'll be working, doing something, all of a sudden you get the urge to maybe bite your nails, pick at your nails, twirl your hair if you have some. I don't, so that's not a problem for me. But whatever it may be, you may have a bad habit that is disrupting the flow of your work. That's a distraction. You need to write that down. Step number 2 is to track your distractions. So as you go about your week, as you go about each day, as you get distracted from doing real work by an item that we listed earlier, what you want to do is use a hash mark and note that distraction and its cause. So if you get distracted from doing real work because a notification from social media comes in and you actually stop to answer that or check it, mark it down on your index card as social media being the distractor. If it's somebody else that comes into your office or your workspace, mark that down. Keep track of your distractions as you go about the week. Number 3 is you want to identify your biggest distraction. So at the end of the week, you're going to have a lot of hash marks beside each item on that list. Total all the hash marks and get clear about what your biggest distraction is, your biggest enemy. You've just identified it. And then step number 4 is that you want to eliminate your biggest distraction. And to do this, you want to implement at least one specific strategy that's going to help you to minimize or eliminate your biggest distraction. And you want to focus on just simply your biggest distraction initially, because eliminating it is going to have the biggest impact on your results. So if you can just focus on that, not all your distractions, we're just eliminating the biggest one. Now here are some examples of some strategies that you might implement depending on what you determine is your biggest distraction or enemy when it comes to productivity. So is social media your biggest distraction? Surprise there. It probably is for most people. Well, how do you deal with that? Specific strategy, one specific strategy. Maybe you could put your phone in another room while you're doing real work and then turn up the ringer so that you don't miss any important phone calls. That way the phone is far away from you. It's not going to be a temptation for you to constantly check it when you get a notification, but put it in another room, turn on the ringer so that it's there for its real purpose, which is to be used as a phone oftentimes. So if that's your biggest distraction, that's one specific way that you can deal with that. Is something like we talked about earlier, biting your nails. Is that your biggest distraction? Used to be for me. How do you deal with that? Well, you just go onto Google or YouTube and search for ways to overcome that habit. Maybe it's something else for you. And then once you've found some information, then focus on implementing those specific ideas. For me, one of the biggest things that helped me to eliminate this temptation or this bad habit was I found like cuticle cream that I could put on my fingernails. And if I constantly remembered every day or after I washed my hands to put that cuticle cream on my nails, it made me aware that they were healing, for one. It made me aware of my nails so that I wasn't just mindlessly going and picking at them and things like that. And I wanted to keep them nice. That's why I was putting cuticle cream on them in the first place. That one simple strategy helped me to eliminate the desire to bite my nails. So it's amazing. Just focus on that biggest distraction. Or are other people your biggest distraction? Then here's an idea. Close the door. If you have an open door policy, well, have a closed door policy when you're trying to get things done. Or put a sign on your door telling people that you're currently unavailable and that you will be until a specific time so that they know that you're not just shutting them out completely, but you have a specific purpose and reason for having your door shut, and stick to that. Don't allow anybody to break that barrier unless there's a fire or something worse, hopefully not, but stick to it so that they understand that you're going to be focused and you want to be left alone. Overall, the essential idea is that you want to be ruthless in a kind way, but you want to be ruthless in eliminating your biggest distraction. And here's a side note about doing this particular thing, and that is that just being aware that you're tracking your distraction is going to minimize them to begin with. And this is one of those forces of nature that work in pretty much anything. You track what you eat, you tend to eat better. You track how you sleep, you tend to sleep better. You track your distractions, you're going to minimize them as a result, generally speaking. So don't be surprised if just simply doing this exercise improves your productivity, because it will. So here are some next actions. Number 1 is to complete the steps that are outlined here, the 4 that we talked about. Number 2, in the process, identify your biggest distraction. And then you want to focus, once you've identified that biggest distraction, focus on eliminating it by implementing at least one specific strategy that's going to help you to do that. Don't worry about eliminating all of them. Just focus on your biggest one. And then do this exercise maybe once a month, because the reality is you may eliminate your biggest distraction now, but next month there's going to be a new biggest distraction. There's always going to be a weak link in the chain that needs to be fixed. So do this exercise once a month, and you're going to find that your productivity improves slowly and over time in a way that's going to surprise you.